fishing in his second consecutive Bassmasters Classic. Mike, first of all, congratulations. And secondly, tell me a little bit about the Bass Federation and what it means to have won that championship.
Right. Well, it means everything. You know, the Bass Federation is basically the grassroots organization. For me, it was the first time I got to see competitive fishing. You know, I was about 13 years old when I first subscribed to Bassmasters, and it gave me an opportunity to get involved in competitive fishing.
Well, Mike, as you know, we've had some superstars in the sport come up through the Federation ranks. You have become one of those superstars. We had Denny Brower qualify. We had Ken Cook qualify. And we had Kevin Van Dam, three-time Bassmaster Angler of the Year, qualify and come up through the Federation ranks. It's got to mean a lot to you again.
You know, Fish, that's a nice thing about the Federation program. It really does give the average angler a chance to chase his dream, and that's what happened in my case.
The thing I like about this tournament, Mike, is it gives a local angler the opportunity to really fish for big prize money in the Bassmasters Classic. How did you go about making this Federation tournament?
Yeah, Fish, this is an unbelievable deal. It's the first time many of these fishermen had an opportunity to fish out of these first-class boats, Ranger boats, Mercury outboards, and it's just unbelievable. This is the mini classic for the average angler. You know, it gives the average angler the opportunity to come out here and fish for not only big money, but again, to make the classic. When I made it, it was, again, an exciting opportunity, but provided me the opportunity to get ready for the classic, and that's what it did last year.
Thanks, Mike, and we look forward to seeing you on the water as a guest color analyst. The 51 anglers competing are from 4 continents and 6 nations. Represented are the 46 state champions from the United States and representatives from federations in Canada, Japan, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. It's the first time there's ever been 51 contestants. Stefano Samarchi from Italy will represent Europe's first ever federation team.
The Bassmasters is brought to you by Garmin, Chevy, Pennzoil, Cabela's, Ranger, and Kumo.
We're here at the 2000 Bass Federation National Championship in Knoxville, Tennessee this year. Fort Loudon and Tellico Lakes are where these guys are going to be competing, and it's definitely shaping up to be a tough tournament. You have a high water conditions, but it's falling. The water temperature's in the low 60s, and it's a pre-spawn and spawn pattern. So during the course of the next 3 days, these guys are really going to have their work cut out for them. But they deserved it. They really did earn their spot to be here. They've competed from all over the world for 51 spots in this tournament, and there's one thing on their mind, and that's the Bassmaster Classic. 5 people from this tournament will go to the Bassmaster Classic in Chicago this year on Lake Michigan. Weighing at Soldier Field, just a dream come true for these anglers if they can make it.
I talked to a couple of guys that said they were on a bunch of big fish, but we'll see this afternoon.
The bite's been real tough right now. I believe that if a fella can catch 10 pounds a day, he'll be in contention to win his division.
Fort Loudon and Tellico Lakes impose a 14-inch minimum on all bass species. Contestants had no problem catching fish, but finding one over 14 inches, now that's a different story. Coming into the event, these 51 contestants found tough conditions due to the heavy rains. The larger fish became much more difficult to catch due to the post-spawn period. 1 or 2 fish in the 3 to 4 pound category could really move these guys to the front of the pack. Now here's Russell Smar, and he's got one of those great big fish that we're talking about will really move him. Now Dean Matz from Yukon, Oklahoma brought a 5-fish limit to the scales, but listen to this story on how the big one got away.
Well, this morning my second fish was about a 5-pounder, and I played it around the boat, brought it up, reached down to get him, mouth was open, hook came out.
Here's your division leaders after day 1. In the Southern Division, Sandy Melvin. Northern Division, Bob Adams. Eastern Division, Russell Smar. Central Division, Scott Stevenson. And leading the West and your overall leader after day 1 is Stan Fisher from Trout Creek, Montana, with 11 pounds and 13 ounces.
We caught a couple on crankbait and lost a couple of big ones on crankbaits too, on some points and stuff.
Right.
And I was fishing just secondary points with a lot of rock.
Right.
Some of it was natural rock and some was man-made.
Basically, I'm just fishing a spinnerbait, a quarter-ounce spinnerbait with a leaf type bait, fishing it in the shades and moving, covering a lot of water, keeping the bait wet, bright sun comes out, I move to flipping in the brush piles. In the shade. The shades, all my bigger fish come in the brush piles in the shade.
I've been catching them out of the very backs of the creeks, and when I went in there this morning, they weren't there. And I had to improvise and start working the fronts of the creeks, and they were in the brush and picked them up. Just riprap. Anything that was in deep riprap, where the coves were deep and went back in and have some depth in them. And I found a few fish, and then I caught 3 while the camera boat was there, and then the minute the camera boat left, I boated about a 6.5 pounder, and then I got another one just before last cast. I said, we gotta go. I caught my 5th fish.
The Bassmasters is brought to you by Mercury, Kmart, Berkeley, World Waters, Herculiner, and BASS.
Now it's time for this week's Answer Line. Patrick Bonfield from Brooksville, Kentucky asks, what are the best techniques and lures for fishing in muddy water? Let's pass that question to pro Lindell Martin.
That's a good question, Patrick. I always approach a lake with muddy water conditions. I always try to find a shallow water pattern. And one of the best lures that I can cover a lot of water in a short period of time is a spinnerbait. Puts off a lot of vibration. Try to remember and use a skirt that's chartreuse and white, or something that, that'll show up real good in that color water. Another bait that I like to use, especially when I find some fish, is a jig. Make sure and use a rattler on that jig. Try to always use something that makes a lot of noise, especially in these muddy water situations.
If you've got a question for one of the pros and want to send it to the Bass Answer Line, just jot it down on a piece of paper and send it to the address on the screen. And hey, be sure to include your address and a photo. You could win a chance to the 2001 Bassmasters Classic, courtesy of Bass. A big tournament within the tournament this week in Knoxville was the National Bassmasters Casting Kids semifinals. Casting Kids is a program designed by Bass CEO Helen Sevier to encourage children to learn the basics of casting, flipping, and pitching. The kids competing this week have already won competitions on the local and state level, and the winners here will advance to the national championship at this year's Bassmasters Classic in Chicago, Illinois, in Soldier Field.
It's day 3 here at the Bass Federation Nationals. We're with our leader from day 1 and 2, Stan Fisher. He's fishing the backs of these pockets and the backs of these coves. He's fishing basically a pre-spawn pattern. This morning looks like he's throwing a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait. He's got a Colorado blade on it, and he's also throwing a crankbait some on his fish. He's gone down on the backs of these riprap pockets and shores, and he's looking for these active pre-spawn fish. He's been real successful day 1 and 2 doing this. Let's see if he can do this on day 3.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the way Stan's fishing the spinnerbait is really kind of a unique deal. He's really fishing the spinnerbait more like a jig, and he's really slow rolling it. He's actually pumping the spinnerbait. He's throwing the spinnerbait up to the bank, and he's letting this thing sink down to the bottom, and he's actually kind of pumping it or yo-yoing it. And basically that's how he's had his success the first 2 days, this yo-yo technique on the spinnerbait. He just had one on that probably would have kept. He's still pumping that spinnerbait. He's still slow rolling it. He's fishing, he's yo-yoing it. This is the second fish he's caught in this pattern. It's got to give him a little confidence that he knows he's catching fish. He knows his pattern's holding up. Stan's got another one on. Looks like a big fish. Looks like a pretty good fish. Just got it in the boat.
There went my spinnerbait blade. It broke it, I think. I don't know, he ain't big enough. Need another dink.
Eastern Division leader Ed Cowan is fighting to keep his 15-ounce lead over Russell Smarr.
My game plan was to clean out the easy bedfish the first day and figure out how to catch some fish. I did that the second day, and I probably don't have enough sense to go back to figuring at this point.
We just pulled in on Ricky Harp. He's fishing in the Southern Division, and he made a tremendous jump yesterday. He jumped into 3rd place overall, and he's leading the Southern Division by more than 7 pounds. We already have a crew in here, and we're informed that he already caught 2 nice quality fish. It looks like Ricky's covering a lot of water with a float worm, fishing for spawners and pre-spawners, and then when he gets down to a piece of cover, he's settled down and he's throwing a tube. He's actually flipping and pitching a tube at the cover. Let's see if Rick can go ahead and catch another keeper here.
Over 14 inches.
Ricky Harp leads the Southern Division by almost 7 pounds and is less than 1.5 pounds out of the overall lead. It'll take more than small fish to win the Brian Kershaw Memorial Trophy. It might take a little luck, too.
I got a little blue rock in my pocket right here, in my right pocket. It says, believe. My wife gave it to me. That's my good luck charm. This morning when I went to get my boat and everything, we had bananas in the coolers. Well, he ain't gonna eat no banana today, because I threw them out. I don't know, but I wasn't taking any chances. There's been a lot of talk about it being bad luck to have a banana in the boat. And a guy from Oklahoma, the one that brought it up. Oh, Wyoming, excuse me, the guy from Wyoming. So somebody hollered out, there's bananas in the boat. So we all started chunking bananas out of the boat this morning.
So after 3 tough days, it all comes down to this. One good fish could make the difference between going to the Bassmasters Classic and going home. Less than 2 pounds separates the top 3 in the overall standings, and 2 of the division leaders hold less than a pound advantage. Remember, the top 5 overall winners don't necessarily qualify for the Classic. You have to win your division. For example, while Stan Fisher is leading the West with 24 pounds, Robert Welch is leading the North with only 10 pounds and 13 ounces. Day 3 was extremely tough, and if you catch even one quality fish, it might be all you need. And sometimes even the old banana in the boat is good luck. Just ask Ricky Hart. Now, David Beatty traveled all the way from Zimbabwe and brings in 3 great bass that move him to the 4th position in the Central Division and 12th overall. Greg Reichard shows a great bass, but it won't take big fish honors. That goes to our friend from across the big pond, Stefano Samarchi, with a 5-pound, 15-ounce largemouth. Check out what this next angler's going to need.
Well, Dean Matz is coming in. He's the last one to weigh in the Central Division. Dean, you got to reach in the box. You got to pull out one fish. Oh, Dino. Oh, Dino, come here. Come here.
Well, Don, I'll let you tell him the news.
Dean, you only had to have a fish. You had to ditch in there and bring out one dink.
You may go back and look again?
I think you ought to go back and look at that live well, see, can you find a guppy or something?
Can I have a towel? I'll start crying now.
You need to start crying. You're going to the Classic. You didn't need any weight to get in there.
He made the Classic without catching a bass today.
It's the last day, and he's going to the Bassmasters Classic. I tell you, it was a tough day out there, Dean. A whole bunch of people had trouble, and you thought you had lost it. You thought you had lost your trip to the Classic.
That's right. I never had a keeper on, never had one to the boat. I had one I had to measure, the rest of them were too short. They just shut off.
Well, this was my friend Greg. He gave us, well, he didn't give it to me, he hid it in my boat. It says, to Ricky, good luck, ha-ha, love Greg.
All right, Greg. That's interesting. The old banana trick to try to discourage you, but I don't think it did. He's got how many fish, Don?
He's got 2 bass. Again, it's got to be 3-1 to take the overall lead, 2-6 just to take the lead in his division. Have you got it, Ricky? Is there 3-1 in here?
Let's watch it.
Watch the scales, 4 pounds, 7 ounces. He's going, 4-7.
Thank you. Thanks. Man, congratulations. There's the trophy, the Brian Kerschel Memorial Trophy. Drops the banana.
Hold it up, buddy. Hold it up. Nobody get his right.
Ricky Hart, we want Vicky to come down here. So, Ricky Hart from Cottondale, Alabama takes the Southern Division and wins the Brian Kerschel Memorial Trophy, and $15,000 as the overall champion. Joining him at the 2000 Bassmasters Classic will be Stan Fisher from the Western Division, the Central's Dean Matz, who didn't even weigh a fish on day 3, Russell Smart of the East, and Philip Jones of the Northern Division. Congratulations to all of our division champions. I'm Fish Fishburne, and I'll see you at the 2000 Bassmasters Classic in Chicago.
As you know, the Bassmasters Classic is going to be in Soldier Field in Chicago this year. And Michael, rumor has it, you're on them.
Well, Fish, I don't want to verify any rumors, but that is my style of fishing, and I do have some really good feelings about the Classic this year.
Here we go, hand.